There are times when life hits you so hard you can't even breathe. You look around and ask, God, why does this keep happening? You see doors closing, people changing, prayers going unanswered, and it starts to shake you. You feel like maybe you took a wrong turn, or maybe God forgot about you. But I came to tell you, He didn't forget. He's working behind the chaos. You just can't see it yet. God's plan doesn't always make sense when you're in the middle of it. You don't understand why that job didn't work out, why that relationship ended, why that opportunity slipped through your hands. But if you could see what God sees, you'd thank Him for every closed door. Because sometimes what you thought was rejection was really divine protection. He's not punishing you, He's positioning you. When life gets confusing, that's when trust gets tested. Anybody can trust when the blessings are flowing. But when everything feels like it's falling apart, that's when your faith has to kick in. You have to look at your storm and say, even if I don't understand, I still believe God is good. That's not weakness, that's power. See, God doesn't need your understanding, He needs your obedience. He needs you to keep walking even when you can't see the road ahead. You don't have to know every detail. You just have to know who's leading you. And the one leading you doesn't make mistakes. Every time life threw confusion at me, I realized later on that it was just construction. God was building something better. He was teaching me patience, humility, endurance, the kind of stuff that can't be learned in comfort. It had to come through the storm. So don't let the unanswered questions make you quit. Keep walking, keep believing, keep praying. The plan may not be visible, but it's already in motion. You just have to trust that God knows what He's doing. Because when you get to the other side of what confused you, you'll finally understand why He made you wait. God's silence is not His absence. It's His strategy. He's moving pieces you don't even know exist yet. So hold tight. Keep trusting Him even when you can't trace Him, because that's where miracles start forming. Every great comeback starts with a setback. You can't rise until something tries to push you down. Life will hit you with disappointment, heartbreak, betrayal, things you never saw coming. And in that moment, you'll think it's over. You'll think you lost everything. But that's when God steps in and says, no, this is just the setup. You can't see the setup because you're standing in the middle of the setback. You're looking at the pain, but God's looking at the purpose. That failed business, that broken relationship, that closed opportunity, God will use it as the foundation for your next breakthrough. He never wastes pain, He multiplies it into purpose. You've got to start seeing your losses differently. Stop calling it failure and start calling it preparation. The things that fell apart were making room for what's about to come together. You thought you were being buried, but really you were being planted. There's growth happening under the dirt you're complaining about. Sometimes God allows you to hit rock bottom, not to break you, but to rebuild you. When everything you leaned on collapses, that's when you finally learn to lean on Him. The same pain that made you cry will become the strength that makes you stand taller later. You might feel forgotten, but you're not. God does His best work in the dark. The setup always happens in silence. While you're hurting, He's healing. While you're doubting, He's designing. And one day you'll look back and say, if that hadn't fallen apart, I wouldn't be where I am today. So don't curse the season that feels like loss. Celebrate it quietly, because that's where God's turning the page. Every ending you face is the beginning of a new chapter. You just haven't read it yet. Keep trusting, because what's coming next is bigger than what you lost. The setback isn't a stop, it's a signal. God's saying, I'm about to shift your story. But before He can elevate you, He's got to separate you. And when He's done, everybody who doubted you will see that what they called a failure, God called a foundation. Waiting can be one of the hardest tests of faith. You pray, you believe, you try to do right, but nothing seems to move. Days turn into months, months into years, and you start to wonder, God, did you forget me? But He didn't. Delay doesn't mean denial. It means development. God's timing isn't like ours. He doesn't work on your clock. He works on his character. And his character says he's never late. He's strategic. He's aligning the right people, the right place, the right opportunity. And while you're waiting, he's shaping you into the kind of person who can handle what you prayed for. You see, sometimes we ask for blessings we're not ready to carry. You can't put a diamond on a child's hand. They'll lose it. God knows what you can handle, and he'll never give it before you're ready. That's why the waiting feels long, because he's preparing your strength to match your destiny. It's easy to get frustrated when it seems like nothing's happening. You see others getting blessed while you're stuck in the same place. But comparison kills trust. God's story for you isn't supposed to look like theirs. Stay in your lane, because your lane leads to a blessing custom built for you. The waiting season is where faith becomes real. It's where you learn patience, resilience, and gratitude. It's where you stop chasing the blessing and start chasing the blesser. When you can thank God in the delay, you're ready for the deliverance. So don't give up because it's taking time. The delay is protection. God's building strength behind the scenes. The longer it takes, the greater the glory. You'll understand one day why he made you wait this long. God's timing is never late, it's perfect. You might not see it yet, but one day, everything that didn't happen when you wanted will make perfect sense. So while you wait, worship. While you wait, prepare. Because what's coming is worth every second of delay. Feelings are powerful. They can lift you up or pull you down. One minute you're hopeful, the next you're drained. One day you're praising God, the next you're wondering if he's even listening. But faith doesn't live in feelings. Faith is what you hold on to when your emotions try to shake you. You're not always going to feel strong. You won't always feel motivated. There'll be days when you just want to quit, cry, and disappear. That's when you remind yourself. Faith isn't about what you feel. It's about what you know. You know God is good. You know he's faithful. You know he won't leave you stranded. You can't let emotions run your faith, because emotions change, faith doesn't. You can feel hopeless and still believe. You can feel tired and still trust. Faith isn't pretending you're okay. It's choosing to believe God will make it okay. When the waves of life hit, feelings scream louder than truth. But that's when you've got to speak louder than your fear. Open your mouth and declare, I will not quit. I will not. God is still in control. The power of faith begins when you speak it even when you don't feel it. Faith is your anchor in the storm. It holds you steady when emotions try to toss you around. Every time you choose faith over fear, you grow stronger. Every time you say, I still believe, while hurting, you build spiritual muscle. The enemy will attack your emotions because he knows if he can shake your feelings, he can weaken your faith. But when you learn to separate the two, when you say, I don't feel it, but I still trust God, that's when you win. That's when you start walking by faith, not by sight. Your feelings will come and go, but your faith must stay rooted, because feelings follow facts. And the fact is, God has never failed anyone who kept trusting him. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need God to back you. Too often we spend our lives trying to prove our worth to people who couldn't see our value, even if it was glowing in front of them. But the truth is, God didn't check a committee before he called you. He didn't ask for opinions when he chose you. He picked you because he saw something in you long before anyone else did. People will doubt you when you start moving differently. They'll question your motives, criticize your growth, and bring up your past because they can't handle your progress. But don't let their disbelief shake your purpose. They didn't see the nights you cried, the battles you fought, or the prayers you whispered. They just see the results, not the process. When God anoints you, he'll often let others overlook you. He'll let you be underestimated on purpose so that when he elevates you, nobody can say it was them. They'll have to say it was God. That's why rejection is sometimes divine. It keeps you humble and dependent on him. Don't worry about the crowd that walked away. God will send the right people who recognize the calling on your life. You've got to learn to be okay with being misunderstood. Not everyone will understand your vision because it wasn't given to them. Stop waiting for validation from people who were never assigned to your destiny. God's confirmation is greater than man's applause. You don't need everyone to clap. You just need heaven to agree. Every person who doubted you is part of the story. God uses doubters as witnesses for your breakthrough. When He blesses you, they'll remember the things they said, and it'll testify of His power. So don't fight for recognition. Let your results speak for you. Let your growth be your defense. The truth is, being chosen doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes it feels lonely, misunderstood, and hard. But remember, oil flows from crushing. If you're feeling pressure, it's because God is producing something powerful in you. You're not just called, you're being crafted. So walk in confidence, not arrogance. Stand in faith, not fear. Because when God chooses you, no human opinion can cancel His purpose. What's yours is yours, and no one can block what God already stamped with your name. The waiting room is one of the toughest places to be. You're ready for your breakthrough, ready for your moment, ready for your prayer to be answered, but nothing's moving. It's like life put you on pause while everyone else is fast forwarding. But don't mistake silence for stillness. God's doing more behind the scenes than you think. The waiting room isn't punishment, it's preparation. God's not withholding blessings to hurt you. He's building your capacity to hold them. You've got to be ready to sustain what you've been praying for, because a blessing given too early becomes a burden. God knows timing better than you ever could. When you're waiting, your patience gets tested. Your faith gets stretched. You start wondering if you misheard God. But that's the moment you have to remind yourself that His promises don't expire. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. Waiting doesn't mean forgotten. It means favored enough to be developed first. It's in the waiting where character is shaped. That's where you learn humility, consistency, and gratitude. Waiting reveals what you truly believe. If your faith only works when things move fast, it's not faith, it's convenience. Faith is when you can keep believing even when nothing's changing. Don't rush what God's still perfecting. Some blessings need more time to ripen. You wouldn't pull bread out of the oven halfway through. It wouldn't be ready. The same is true with your life. Let God finish baking what He's preparing. When it's ready, it'll be worth every second you spent waiting. While you're waiting, don't waste it. Work on yourself. Build your discipline. Grow your mindset. Prepare for the blessing like it's already on the way. Because when the door finally opens, you won't have time to get ready. You'll need to be ready. Keep trusting even when the clock seems silent. God's delay isn't denial, it's design. And when that moment finally comes, you'll realize why He made you wait so long, because He was preparing something that couldn't be rushed. There will be moments in your life when you look up and ask, God, why? Why did they leave? Why did I lose everything? Why did it have to happen like this? And sometimes you won't get an answer, but that doesn't mean God's not speaking. It means He's teaching you to trust Him even without explanation. We live in a world that craves control. We want to understand every reason, every move, every outcome. But faith isn't about knowing why. It's about believing even when you don't. God doesn't owe us explanations. He gives us revelation through experience. And many times that revelation only comes after the pain. Sometimes God removes people you thought were permanent because He heard conversations you didn't. Sometimes He closes doors you were ready to walk through because He saw traps you couldn't. So when you can't understand His plan, trust His protection. He's guarding you from battles you're not built for yet. You don't need to know the why to keep walking. You just need to know the who. God's plan is perfect, even when it's painful. The same situation that broke you might be the very thing that builds your strength. You'll only see that when you look back and realize He was working when you thought He was quiet. Stop trying to make sense of everything that hurt you. Some things won't make sense until you're healed. God uses pain as a tool, not to punish, but to purify. You can't see it while you're bleeding, but one day that scar will tell a story of survival, not suffering. So when you can't figure out why it happened, don't lose faith. Shift your focus from asking, why me? To what are you teaching me? Because every loss, every delay, every heartbreak is preparing you for purpose. You're not being destroyed, you're being developed. And in the end, you'll realize that trust is stronger than understanding. Because once you learn to trust God in confusion, you'll never fear the unknown again. That's where real peace begins. Pain can make you question everything, your worth, your faith, even your future. When life hurts, it's hard to believe that any good could come out of it. But God never wastes pain. Every tear you've cried is watering the soil of your next blessing. You just don't see what's growing yet. You've got to change how you look at pain. It's not the enemy, it's the evidence that you're being transformed. Growth always hurts. Healing always stings. Every person God used in the Bible went through seasons of pain before promotion. If you're in pain right now, that means you're in process. Pain humbles you. It softens your heart. It teaches you empathy and compassion, the kind that can't be learned from comfort. God uses pain to prepare you for purpose. Because when you've been through something, you can speak life into someone else who's going through the same thing. You've got to stop hiding your scars. Scars aren't signs of weakness, they're proof of survival. They show that what was meant to destroy you didn't succeed. Your pain has a purpose, and your story carries power. Somebody needs to hear what you've been through so they can believe they'll make it too. Sometimes the reason the pain lasted so long is because God was using it to shape your calling. The thing that broke your heart is the thing that will give you passion to help others. That's how God works. He turns pain into purpose, tests into testimonies, breakdowns into breakthroughs. When you start viewing pain through faith, it loses its power to define you. Instead of saying, why me? Start saying, use me. Use my hurt to help someone heal. Use my struggle to strengthen someone else's faith. Because when you let God use your pain, it stops being a wound and becomes a weapon. Pain may change your plans, but it doesn't change God's purpose. He's still writing your story, and this chapter, the painful one, will soon make sense in the bigger picture of your life. You just have to keep trusting Him through the ache. There are moments when you pray for something with your whole heart, and it doesn't happen. You wait, you believe, you hope, but nothing changes. And instead of seeing progress, you see delay. But here's the truth: God's delay is not meant to destroy your faith. It's meant to protect your destiny. Sometimes the reason He hasn't opened that door is because He knows what's waiting on the other side could harm you more than help you. We often see opportunity, God sees outcome. You think that new job, that person, that path looks perfect, but God sees what you can't. He sees the hidden traps, the unseen motives, the silent storms ahead. That's why you've got to thank Him for the doors He didn't open. The ones that didn't work out weren't rejection. They were redirection straight from His love. God's delays are divine shields. They keep you safe from rushing into something that would have wrecked you. You might be crying now because it feels unfair, but later you'll say, God, thank you for saving me from what I thought I wanted. Every not yet is a layer of protection around your purpose. It's not that God's saying no. He's saying not now, because timing matters. A blessing given in the wrong season becomes a burden. God's timing isn't just about when you're ready. It's about when the world around you is ready too. He's aligning everything to match your calling. That's why you've got to learn to rest even in delay. Rest in knowing that God's plan is safer than your plans. Rest in the truth that He's never late. He's never early. He's always right on time. The delay might feel like punishment, but it's actually preparation for what's better. You're not being denied, you're being developed. While you wait, God is growing your patience, sharpening your discernment, and strengthening your spirit. He's preparing you for blessings that won't break you. When it finally comes, you'll realize the delay wasn't wasted, it was wisdom. So instead of asking, why is it taking so long? Start saying, thank you, Lord, for knowing what I don't. Because the delay is divine, God is protecting your promise until you're strong enough to handle it. Sometimes life will flip the script on you. You had everything planned, the job, the timeline, the vision, and then suddenly it all shifts. You're standing there thinking, this wasn't supposed to happen. But that's where faith gets real. Because when God changes the plan, it's not because he's confused. It's because he's correcting your path. We get comfortable with what's familiar, we make plans, and then we ask God to bless our plans. But sometimes he has to interrupt your comfort to push you toward your calling. What feels like disruption is often direction. He'll shake things up to move you into something greater. When the plan changes, don't panic, pivot. God never changes his promise, but he often changes the path. The dream is still alive, it just might unfold differently. You thought you'd get there one way, but God has a better route. You just have to keep walking, even when it doesn't look like what you expected. Faith means trusting that God knows what he's doing, even when he reroutes your steps. The path may look longer, but that's because he's avoiding the traps you don't see. Sometimes the long way is the safe way. Sometimes the detour is the deliverance. It's okay to feel frustrated when things shift suddenly, but don't let frustration turn into fear. Every change is an invitation to trust deeper. God doesn't rewrite your story, he refines it. Every twist, every turn, every setback is a new scene leading toward victory. You can't hold on to the old plan when God's doing a new thing. If you keep trying to go back to what he already closed, you'll miss what he's opening. Let go of how you thought it should happen and watch him work it out his way. He's not taking you backward, he's taking you higher. So when the plan changes, say, Lord, I don't understand it, but I trust you. Because every unexpected shift is a setup for something you never saw coming, and it's always for your good. Fear is one of the loudest voices you'll ever hear. It whispers in the dark, what if you fail? What if they laugh at you? What if it doesn't work out? And if you're not careful, you'll start believing it. But faith speaks louder, not in volume, but in truth. Fear focuses on what could go wrong. Faith focuses on who's in control. Every great move of God requires courage. You can't walk in purpose and live in fear at the same time. One of them has to bow. When God tells you to step out, fear will always show up first. But that's when you have to remind yourself, faith isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move anyway. You might feel afraid, but don't let fear sit in the driver's seat. Fear makes you shrink back, stay silent, and settle. But God didn't create you to live small. You've got to look fear in the face and say, you don't control me anymore. The moment you move despite fear, that's when breakthrough begins. Faith isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just getting up one more time after being knocked down. It's believing God will make a way even when you don't see one. It's standing in the middle of the storm and saying, I'm not giving up here. That's real faith, stubborn, determined, unshakable. Fear wants to paralyze you before you reach your promise. That's why the enemy attacks your confidence. Because he knows if you ever believe what God said about you, you'll be unstoppable. You've got to protect your faith like it's treasure, because it is. It's your weapon against every lie fear speaks. Every time fear tries to rise, use faith as your answer. Speak God's word out loud. Remind yourself what he's already brought you through. If he did it before, he can do it again. You've got to talk back to fear. It doesn't get the final say in your story. So don't let fear cancel what faith already confirmed. Keep walking forward. Keep speaking life. Keep trusting that the God who started it will finish it, no matter what fear tries to tell you. We love control. We want to know every detail, fix every problem, plan every outcome. But control is an illusion. The truth is, there's only so much you can do, and the rest belongs to God. Real peace begins when you accept that some things are out of your hands, but never out of His. Trying to control everything will wear you out. You'll stress over people, over situations, over outcomes that only God can handle. You've got to learn to release it. When you let go, you're not giving up. You're giving it to the one who can actually fix it. That's faith in action. You can't control who leaves, who stays, or what people say. You can't control timing, favor, or how life unfolds. But you can control your trust. You can control your response. You can choose peace over panic. That's what it means to live by faith. To rest knowing God's already got what you're trying to grasp. Sometimes God allows situations that expose how little control we actually have, not to hurt us, but to humble us. It's His way of saying, you were never meant to carry that alone. And when you finally surrender it, that's when you'll feel the weight lift off your shoulders. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop stressing. You still pray, you still prepare, but you stop panicking. Because panic says it's all up to me, but faith says it's all in His hands. And that shift changes everything. When you give God control, you gain clarity. Suddenly, what used to worry you stops owning your peace. You start seeing miracles in places you used to see mess. That's what happens when you step out of the way and let God work His way. So trust Him with what you can't control, because the same God who holds the universe together can surely handle what's keeping you up at night. You can't pray for strength and then complain about struggle. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in conflict. Every trial, every disappointment, every setback is a training session for your spirit. God's not breaking you. He's building you up through resistance. Think about it. Muscles grow by being stretched and torn. It's the pressure that builds power. The same is true for your faith. You've got to be tested to be trusted. Every hardship is preparing you to handle the blessings you've been praying for. When life gets hard, it's not a sign that God's forgotten you. It's proof that He's preparing you. He's teaching you how to fight, how to stand, how to endure, because your next level requires strength your last season didn't need. You might feel like you're being crushed, but remember, oil only flows from pressing. The pressure you're under is producing something powerful inside you. You won't see it now, but you'll feel it later when you realize how much stronger, wiser, and tougher you've become. Don't run from your struggle. Learn from it. Every challenge carries a lesson. Every pain holds a purpose. The very thing that tried to take you out is what God's using to take you higher. You're not weak. You're in training. You've got to start thanking God, not just for the victories, but for the battles that built you. Because it's in the struggle that you learn how to stand. And standing is what keeps you ready when blessings start to overflow. So when you feel the weight, remind yourself, this is strength training. You're not breaking down, you're building up. Keep trusting God through the pressure because it's producing the power you'll need for the promise. Sometimes you're not losing faith, you're just tired. Tired of trying. Tired of waiting. Tired of holding it all together. You reach a point where you want to throw your hands up and say, God, I can't do this anymore. And that's exactly when He steps in. When your strength runs out, His begins. God never asked you to carry the weight alone. He said, come to me, all who are weary, and I'll give you rest. Rest doesn't mean quitting. It means trusting that He's still working even when you stop striving. You don't have to fix everything. Sometimes you just need to breathe and believe. When exhaustion hits, that's when doubt starts whispering. You start thinking, maybe it's not meant to be. But don't mistake fatigue for failure. Being tired doesn't mean you're losing. It means you've been fighting. And God sees every ounce of that effort. Even the strongest people get weary. But the difference between giving up and growing up is where you put your trust. If you lean on your strength, you'll burn out. But if you lean on God's strength, you'll keep standing. His power works best in weakness. That's His promise. You've got to stop trying to run on empty. Rest in His presence. Let him refill you with peace, patience, and perspective. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to pause. Because when you rest in God, he restores what stress drained. Keep trusting even when you're tired, because tired faith is still faith. It's faith that refuses to quit, even with tears in its eyes. It's faith that whispers, "Lord, I still believe," when everything in you wants to give up. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. So when weariness comes, don't surrender. Surrender it to God. Let him carry what's been crushing you. You're not out of strength. You're about to be renewed. You might feel like you've messed up too much, fallen too far, or wasted too many years. But God's not done with you. He doesn't throw people away. He restores them. His grace is greater than your mistakes, and his mercy never expires. As long as you're breathing, you've got purpose left to fulfill. Your past doesn't disqualify you. It prepares you. Every failure, every wrong turn, every scar has a role in your redemption story. God can take the ugliest chapters of your life and turn them into the most powerful testimony. Nothing you've done is beyond his ability to use. The enemy will try to convince you that it's too late, that you've gone too far. But the devil is a liar. God specializes in comebacks. Look at Moses, David, Paul. All of them had flaws, but God still used them mightily. Your mistakes don't cancel your mission, they refine it. You may have fallen, but you didn't fail. Not when grace is still active in your life. God's mercy will pick you up, clean you off, and push you forward. Stop living in guilt over what God has already forgiven. You can't change your past, but you can let God rewrite your future. Sometimes he lets things fall apart so he can rebuild them his way. You thought it was over, but God was just resetting the foundation. The broken pieces are still part of his plan. He's just rearranging them for your good. You've got to stop disqualifying yourself from what God already qualified you for. If he called you, he's equipped you. You're not too far gone. You're right where grace works best. Don't let regret keep you from the redemption waiting for you. So keep trusting. Your story isn't over. The author of your life is still writing in this next chapter. It's going to be your best one yet. Faith isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily decision. You can't trust God only when things make sense. You've got to trust him until it happens, even when the results are slow, even when the road gets rough, even when everything in you says, it's not working. That's when you hold on tighter. Every promise from God takes patience. Abraham waited years. Joseph waited in a prison. David waited in caves. Waiting doesn't mean forgotten. It means chosen. You're not being left behind. You're being lined up. Every delay, every struggle, every setback is leading to the fulfillment of what God said. The hardest part of trusting God is the in-between, the gap between promise and manifestation. But that's where faith grows roots. That's where you learn to say, even if I don't see it, I still believe it. Because faith isn't seeing, it's knowing. You might be close to your breakthrough and not even realize it. Sometimes right before it happens, life gets the hardest. That's the enemy's last attempt to make you quit before the promise arrives. But if you just hold on a little longer, everything will start to make sense. Keep showing up. Keep praying. Keep believing. The walls of Jericho didn't fall on day one. It took 7 rounds of obedience. Don't stop marching because it hasn't happened yet. The miracle might be one more step away. God honors persistence. He rewards faith that doesn't quit. Every time you trust when you could have walked away, heaven takes notice. Every time you keep believing through pain, you're building spiritual momentum for what's next. So keep trusting, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because when it finally happens, you'll know it wasn't luck, it was God, and your faith made it possible.